I wanted to take a few minutes to put together an instructional video that informs users on how to reduce the file size of their images. Today's modern phones can take very large images. As a consequence of that, you may not want that big of a file size to deal with, particularly if the image is only going to be seen on screen. Now, the impetus for this is my structural geology lab class has a big project due, and I'm afraid the file sizes are going to get out of hand quickly. But this is a common problem I've noticed amongst students and, frankly, some faculty members as well. Nobody I know personally. But understanding what images are doing to your file sizes are super important, particularly if you know that the end user is not going to print these out in any way, shape, or form. So this is strictly geared to showing an image on screen. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do it. I use a Windows platform for a lot of things. So we're going to do it in Windows. I picked out for our use here an image that I scanned in at fairly high resolution. This is a 2400 by 2400 pixel image. That's pretty large. I'm going to open it up with a really common program that should be default on Windows in some fame or fortune. This is Paint. Paint is not a sophisticated program. You can already see, even if I enlarge it, that our image is taking up a lot of screen space as it is. This already tells me that the image is much too large for most of the uses I want, whether it's embedding it into a Word file or a PowerPoint. And it's very simple to resize this. In fact, the word is right up here, resize. Hit the resize. Now, unless you have some particular reason you need this truncated in one direction or the other, which in science is a big no-no for the most part, you want to make sure that the aspect ratio is maintained. So don't change the aspect ratio. Let's look at how many pixels we've got. We've got 2,400. Really, there is no reason for an on-screen image to be bigger than 1,000 pixels. That's really where most of the display is going to live, and even that's too much for most of our applications. But we'll humor it. We'll put in 1,000 instead of 2,400 and hit OK. And now we've got most of the image on screen at once. So 1,000 by 1,000 baud is pretty good real estate for this. It also made for a much smaller file size as a consequence. Let's just check that out for a second. Going to the folder that I have it stored in, the properties are down here on the way I have Windows set up. So I can actually see the image. This is my original. Because it was 2400 by 2400, it's a 1.9 megabyte file. Not onerous, but sizable. Let's go over to our new version. By reducing it to 1,000 by 1,000, I've made it half a megabyte. Under half a megabyte. Much smaller, much easier to transfer around, much less of a headache to deal with on a lot of programs, so you're not eating up a lot of graphics time trying to put things onto the screen. A lot of places where I see images that don't need to be as big as they are in PowerPoint slide sets. I've been guilty of this myself. I'm probably still guilty of it. If I'm lazy, I don't do this simple trick in order to reduce the file size. All right, so here's our image again. This is the full-size version, 2,400 pixels on an edge. And I put it in here, and I'm going to save that. And then I am going to go up to Format and tell it I want to compress the pictures. Now, you can apply this to one picture at a time, or if you unclick this, this will work on all the pictures simultaneously. You can pick a resolution. So they basically tell you that, well, if you're going to have people print this out, 220 pixels per inch is pretty good for that. And it is, particularly from a PowerPoint slide set. If you know your end user is going to do nothing but look at it on the screen, why not reduce it to screen size or even smaller? So I'm going to reduce it to the smallest possible size, 96 pixels per inch, and apply that and save it. Let's look at the difference in the file sizes now. Here's our original large size, 686 kilobytes. Not bad, but it is just one slide after all. After a reduction, we're now at 99.6 kilobytes. So mission accomplished, a much smaller file as a consequence. Now it's easier to transfer and deal with. Now there are, of course, a lot of image manipulation programs out there. Adobe Photoshop, Corel Photo Paint, and the like. They come in flavors simple and easy to use and expensive with a lot of extra tools. But one that I almost insist everybody should be familiar with is ImageJ. ImageJ is freeware. It is provided by the National Institutes of Health, and it was developed many years ago to help with the new images that were coming off instrumentation in the health sciences, but it's applicable to a large number of problems. It's also written in JavaScript currently, so you can add your own JavaScripts in here or plug in ones that other people have written. So it's powerful kung fu if you can get used to sort of its different interface system. It's not intuitive, I don't think. At least it isn't to me. Oh, and I neglected to mention one of the nice things about ImageJ is because it's JavaScript, it runs on most any machine you can imagine. So Windows users, Mac users, Unix users, I've run this on a Raspberry Pi. It works fine. All right, so let's take a look at our image here. We want to adjust size, and then we can type in how many pixels that we want. So say we want to go to 1,000 pixels. We'll go to 1,000 pixels. Remember, it's at 2400 now. And there we go. We're 1,000 by 1,000. Now the image jumped on the screen because we were at 33%. It automatically jumped to 100% because I could fit it on the screen. Now we have a pretty good looking image. Again, if we save this, we're going to have the same difference in image size that we got with Paint. It's the same process involved. So 3 ways to do this. One that's very common to Windows instruments, using the native program Paint. A second way is to just do it in PowerPoint, and particularly if you're going to end up in PowerPoint. And the third way, ImageJ, you can use on any computer. Hope this helps. Looking forward to smaller file sizes in your future.